Good morning, everyone. My name is Zhengfei Guan, Associate Professor of Food and Resource Economics. Today, I'm going to provide an update on Mexican trade and Florida production of major produce crops. In this talk, I will first provide an overview of U.S.-Mexico trade on major crops, and then I will talk about forces driving the surge of imports. And after that, I will briefly discuss potential solutions. Mexico is a market power in the produce industry and has the same production window as Florida. There are two major competitors in the U.S. produce market. Let's first look at berries. In 2000, strawberry imports from Mexico were 1/3 of the total production in Florida, while in 2019, Mexican imports were 2 times higher than the Florida production. The blueberry case is even more surprising. This shows how fast Mexico can catch up once it gets in the game. The imports from Mexico have grown at an exponential rate over the last 10 years. Imports in 2019 were roughly 4 times higher than the Florida production, growing more than 100-fold over 10 years. As the largest producer of fresh tomatoes in the US, Florida tomato production was 1.6 billion pounds in 2000, 20% higher than the imports from Mexico. But now, imports from Mexico are 5 times higher than the Florida production. And Florida production dropped 50% over the last 20 years. It's a similar story for bell pepper. Back in 2000, imports from Mexico were only half of the Florida production. By 2019, the imports from Mexico were 3 times higher than the Florida production. Available data for cucumbers and squash show the same trends. The consequence for Florida is not just shrinking market shares, but also depressed market prices. Over the last 15 years, blueberry prices dropped from $6.3 per pound to $2.6, and the price trends for other crops were basically flat. But keep in mind, over this 15-year period, the total inflation was 31%. This means $1 15 years ago is worth $1.31 today. If you are still getting $1, it means the real price has actually gone down. So what's driving the surge of imports? Here I will discuss peso devaluation, labor costs, and Mexican subsidies. When NAFTA took effect in 1994, 1 peso was 30 cents in US dollar. But now in 2021, it's less than 5 cents. Just look at the last 10 years. Since 2011, peso has lost 40% of its value. And that makes Mexican products cheaper and more competitive. And there's also a large gap in labor costs. Mexican minimum wage is less than $1 per hour, but Florida minimum wage was over $8 per hour, and now it's getting to $15 per hour because of the new mandate. And this labor market shock will have serious consequences for Florida growers. Besides the currency and cost issues, Mexican government further subsidizes its fruit and vegetable industry. We found Mexican total agricultural subsidies averaged about 60 billion pesos, or $4.5 billion per year. They have many subsidy programs, Protected agriculture is one of them. It subsidizes 50% of the cost of protection structures, such as high tunnel, shade houses, and greenhouses. The subsidy rate kept increasing over the years. Growers could get 4 million pesos or over 200,000 US dollars per project. In this chart, the blue bars are total protected acreage. The orange line represents total subsidies for protected agriculture. The total subsidy for this program alone was over $500 million between 2001 and 2018. With generous support from the government, protected agriculture has been the fastest growing sector in Mexican agriculture. It now has about 130,000 acres. About 95% of the protected acreage is used to produce fruit and vegetables. Tomato is by far the largest crop in protected agriculture, accounting for 65% of the acreage in 2009. In 2019, the largest crops included tomato, 31%, pepper, 12%, strawberry, 11%, raspberry, 11%, cucumber, 8%, and blueberry, 5%. In total, these top 6 crops accounted for about 80% of the protected acreage. Almost all of them have trade disputes with America. To give you an idea about the scale in terms of acreage, tomato protected acreage alone was about 40,000 acres in Mexico, while Florida total production area was 29,000 acres, almost all open field. For strawberry production, Mexico had over 14,000 acres of protected area, while Florida total area was less than 10,000 acres. And remember, on top of that, Mexico has open field production as well. Protected agriculture has many benefits. For example, it has higher yield, better quality, and therefore improved market access. And because of that, Wendy's, a major food service chain, is now transitioning to vine-ripe greenhouse tomatoes. The blue bar in this chart is Mexican yield in protected production, and gray bar, Florida yield in open field. The Mexican protected yield is many times higher than Florida yield. For example, tomatoes 4 to 5 times higher, and bell peppers 3 times higher. In this talk, I only highlighted one subsidy program, protected agriculture. There are also programs for other costs, for example, the cost of irrigation system. In fact, the Mexican government subsidized different activities throughout the supply chain, from production to post-harvest management and to marketing and market development. From what I've shown here, we could see there's no way Florida could compete with Mexican imports. Now, the US government is taking actions, starting trade investigations and seeking trade remedies. But since Mexico has already built up large capacities and has labor advantages, the long-term solution for the industry is mechanization or automation. I would like to see a Farm Bill special funding program for mechanization or labor-saving technologies, because that is the future of the specialty crop industry. And there's one more thing that the government should consider, or the industry should campaign for, is overhaul the national ag policy. Row crops like those in the Midwest and other sectors are being given most of the attention or priority in government support and in trade negotiations. But the market and trade patterns have witnessed tectonic shifts in the last 2 decades. I believe it's time to change that mentality and practice in Washington. Thank you.